Good idea.
Hello everybody. Hi, my name's Claire and I'm the campaign organiser here in Bradford. Wow, how many of you are there here? This is amazing. Thank you so much for giving up your Sunday afternoons to come and be with us this afternoon. So I'm going to do a quick bit of housekeeping and then we'll get down to business while we're all here, really. So we're not expecting any fire drills here today, but if the fire alarm does go off, then going out through the entrance that you came in through over there, or there's another fire exit over in that direction. Please note that we will be taking photographs and there will be filming here today as well. So if you don't want to be filmed or photographed, then we've got a designated area over there, so make a sharp move now. last thing, if you've got questions for Zack, as you can see, we will not be taking questions from the floor during his time on stage. So if you do have a question, please scan the QR code, or there's a table over on that side where you can write your own questions on as well. We'll try and get around to as many of the questions as we possibly can. But with such a full room, we might not get to everybody's question. So, here in Bradford, we are preparing to launch the most ambitious election campaign for the Green Party has ever seen, especially in the north of England, bigger than Bristol. We're really going for it in Bradford. And the one thing I really want to say is we cannot do this without great people like you, so many of you in this room, so many familiar faces. So how can I help, I hear you ask? The first thing is an election campaign costs a lot of money, about £2,500 to elect one councillor just in that last 6 weeks of a campaign. So please, if you could give a little bit to help us towards those costs, that would be absolutely incredible. There's a table right near the door where there's QR codes that you can scan to donate. We've got some buckets around, so we've got some great fundraisers here today to help out with that, so just go and find them. It's the end table over there. For those of you who have not joined the Green Party yet, why not? Please join the Green Party. It costs as little as £6 a year, and it's really, really helpful to help us support the message that we are actually a really serious party, that people can feel safe to vote for, and it really is an alternative to vote, a real alternative worth voting for. Again, there's a membership table over there, and any of the candidates and councillors that are around now as well, who will be over there outside later on, can help you talk to you about what it takes, what being a member involves. Also, we ask people to help out with our campaigning. So if you want to find out more, give a little bit of time to deliver some leaflets or do some social media or help with some data or baking. Baking's always important. Please, again, after Zack has done his wonderful stuff, please head over to the tables and talk to our councillors and candidates, and I'll be around as well if you want to grab me. And last but not least, if anybody fancies being a candidate, come and have a chat, even if it's just like a name on a ballot paper. And I think that's all we've got time for. So we're going to have a quick video and then we will get down to business. Thank you very much.
We've got 100,000 of these to deliver.
Sure, there are more effective ways to get the message out these days. Just ask some of the other political parties.
Big data, big media, big aerospace. But here's the thing, all those election tricks come from one place, big donors. And if there's one thing the Green Party knows, is that big donors don't fund democracy, they buy it. They bought Labour, and they bought Tories.
And that's why nothing changes, no matter who is in the chair.
But they don't own us, and they don't own you.
Because they don't own us, we can tell them straight.
Tell them we're going to take back the rivers they polluted from and take back the wealth they stole from our time. And that's why we need you to help, because we can't do this alone.
We've got a big job to do. Street after street, town after town.
And all before voting. Because the May elections are coming. And with them comes the biggest threat to this country we've seen in our lifetime: reform. Some people say this is a new kind of politics. It's not. It's the same dark forces our grandparents fought against, backed with different branding and billionaire backers.
And in reform we're here, all these countries that we love, they're done.
And here's the truth. No one comes to save us. Not Labour, not anyone.
It's down to us. If we don't stop reform, no one will. Our numbers are growing, people are joining, and now it's time to join in. Join us! Join us!
You need your commitment. You need your feet. You need your hands. You need your passion.
The whole country needs you.
Join us! This isn't just a step, it's hope. Help us deliver it one letterbox at a time.
We're on today delivering Green Party.
Yes, we yes. Oh, is this for the video?
Last couple of minutes to get your questions in. Zack and Councillor
Welcome.
Matthews will be on their way shortly.
It's the enthusiasm upstairs that's delaying him, I think.
I think they're having a party upstairs. Anyone December? I can see him coming in. Matt just says, they'll get to us.
Excellent plan.
Hello everyone, welcome to Valley Parade. Who's excited for Zack? Can I just say, Hirst might have been a bit louder, can we be a bit louder than that? So Zack's been travelling across Yorkshire this weekend. I would say to save the best for last, but I am slightly biased. So I'm delighted to welcome Zack to Bradford. I'm also delighted to welcome you all here today. It's a really exciting time for the Green Party at the moment. So those that don't know, I'm Matt Edwards, I'm leader of the Green Group of Bradford Council. We are the largest Green Group of councillors in West Yorkshire. There's 10 of us. And we're hoping to nearly treble that in May. More excited than that. So just a quick shout out in the room. Who's a member? And who's joined since Zack became leader of the Green Party? A lot of you, yeah. It's round of applause. So it is a really exciting time for the Green Party. There's a lot going on. We've got a lot to achieve between now and well, it's less than 4 months away. Throughout this, everything we said, there was going to be 3 recurring themes, and I'm going to start with a recurring theme because I don't think I'm going to be subtle. But there are 3 things we're going to need from you. 1, we are going to need to ask you to donate. That will be quite a common thing. This venue hasn't come cheap, and if you can, please take it into your pocket. And I also need you to get involved. Like, that's got to be the big thing. Like, it's great coming to a venue like this and hearing people speak, but we actually need to go out in the streets and speak to people and get them to vote Green. And that's how we change things. And then, if you're not a member, if you weren't one of those people that put your hand up, you can actually join while you're sat here. Just go to join.greenparty.org.uk, fill in the form. If not, there are leaflets around. And if you forget anything I've just said in that last minute, it will be repeated throughout this event. But before I introduce Zack, and the slides are going to reflect this, so it's a surprise for Adam, we actually have a surprise guest who I'm trying to find in the room. Where is he? Where is he? Muffin. Right there. I think you're behind the column, so we've got Muffin Ali, Deputy Leader of the Green Party.
Person on stage, you can all see the other lost one. I'm only a little one. But it's so fantastic to be here today. And with this crowd of people, Matt tells me he had to change venues twice to accommodate everyone. Now, that's a nice problem that the Green Party hasn't had for a long time. It feels absolutely amazing. Can I check who's not yet a member of the Green Party? Can you put your hands up? So my job is, in the next 5 minutes, to try and convince as many of you to join the Green Party as possible.
Give me money, I'll charge.
Give me some money. I think I might get in trouble for that. Right. Since Zack has been elected the leader, I was going to say deputy leader, the leader of the Green Party, we've just gone on a massive trajectory forward. You know, our voice for so long, we've had the right policies, we've had the right people in the party, but we've just not been able to gain that traction. Zack has transformed that. You know, absolutely amazing. He's really putting our message across, and he's really taking our stance on so many moral positions forward. And that's the thing, that's the reason I joined the Green Party. You know, I was a Labour member for a long time. I joined the Labour Party when I was 18. And it talks a good game, and that's all it does. You know, it talks a good game when it's in opposition, and once it gets into power, you can't tell them any different between them and the Tory Party. We need a party, we need people who are going to stand up for their communities, because if we don't stand up for ordinary people and we don't provide a voice for ordinary people, how are we ever going to really make change? Greens aren't funded by billionaires. They don't have billionaire backers. They don't have corporate lobbyists. And as I've heard already twice has been mentioned, get out your fivers, get them in the bucket, let's see what we can do to drive our message forward. Because every single donation that makes the difference. I'm not here to do a fundraiser, so I'm not going to lock any doors before you empty your wallets. Don't worry about that. But the point of me saying that was, we are a grassroots movement. I know there's different people stepping forward thinking they're going to create what we've already created. You know, they're trying to reinvent the wheel. The wheel's already turning, and we're gathering the momentum, and we're really pushing the fight to reform. This May election is going to be a massive test for us all. You know, the far right have landed in British politics. Are we going to sit back and are we going to just let the far right take control?
No.
Who's going to stand and make a stance against the far right and say they shall not pass, because we, ordinary, decent people, are going to stand up and we are going to be the front line? We are going to stand up for our communities. We are going to try and heal this divided society that they're trying to create. We're not going to just let migrants and black and brown people be the scapegoats. We are going to be the voices for our communities, and we are going to be the shield. And that's why I'm really pleased to announce, you know, we've got Chaudhry Rangzeb, who's our latest former Lord Mayor, former Labour councillor, who's joined the Green Party. Can you stand up and give him a wave? There's a number of former Labour councillors in the room. Former Councillor Bacon, where are you? Can you stand up as well, please? Who else has joined the Greens from the Labour Party? Stand up, stand up, stand up. I'm sure there's lots of people who've been disillusioned with, I don't know what the party's name is now, who have joined. Can we have those people stand up? Come on, don't be afraid. And there ain't no party like a Green Party, so come on, let's really turn the temperature up. I'm going to welcome my friend, you know, someone who has stood by me since 2022, who's really pushed me forward and given me a lot of inspiration, someone who I'm sure is inspiring everyone else in this room. My friend, my leader, Zack Polanski!
Well, that was very lovely. Thank you very much.
I didn't know Martin was going to be here today. He was a surprise extra edition. But I want to take this opportunity before talking to Bradford to talk to Martin actually, because some of you, if you listen to Radio 4, will know he was on Any Questions on Friday night. It was his first time debut performance on Any Questions, and he absolutely smashed it out of the park. And there's actually two key moments in that Any Questions episode. As I say, I don't want to spoil it. It's not like The Traitors, you know. I'm not going to spoil that either. There was one moment where there was a conversation about wealth tax and inequality, and the Conservative representative on the panel started to say, "Oh, people will leave." And do you know what the audience started to do? They gave the appropriate response. They started to laugh at them. And I think it's interesting when we're getting to this moment in British politics where the same repeated lines people are hearing over and over again, the public are starting to laugh at the old party politics because they can see very clearly that it's not working. But my second favourite moment of the whole episode actually happened in minute 1 of Martin speaking. So Emily Thornberry had just been doing what Emily Thornberry does, which is talk a lot. And to be fair, she talks impressively. And I knew Martin was coming next, so I was wondering how he was going to react to what he was saying. The very first words that came out of his mouth was, "That was a very politician's answer." And the audience started to applaud. And I think that speaks to what I want to start with today, is our way of doing politics differently, which is to be straight talking, to tell the truth, to be bold about it, but also caring, to really push a politics of care that, yes, wants to tax the rich, multimillionaires and billionaires, but also wants to make sure that we look after and support and empower our communities. And we know that for a long time, inequality has got worse and worse. But this isn't some kind of rhetoric or just something we talk about. We should look at the numbers. The 50 wealthiest families in this country own more wealth than the bottom 50% of the population. To spell that out, that's 50 families owning more wealth than 34 million people. So when you hear politicians from other parties say, it's tricky, it's difficult, there's no money left, what they're really saying is there's no money for our working class communities. There's no money for the North. There's no money for unemployed people or people who are employed and claiming benefits because work isn't paying. There's no money for disabled people or children with special needs who need that support. There's no money for our water, which we need to nationalise and bring into public hands. There is plenty of money in this country. It's just not coming to our communities. So let's stop hearing about difficult decisions for all of these groups. When will it be time for difficult decisions for multimillionaires and billionaires? It is time to tax the rich. Now, I do want to answer the thing that the Conservatives said that was laughed at because it's important. And for those of you who want to know more, there's a brilliant article this weekend by George Monbiot in The Guardian that talks about taxing the rich. And he actually says there's 3 responses we should give. I can only remember 2 of them at the moment, so let's pretend there's 2. There's probably a third surprise one out there. But one is, and I make this point often, that we're talking about taxing assets. Someone like the Duke of Westminster owns half of Mayfair. You can't pick up Mayfair and leave. Where I think Moffin said on Any Questions, you can't put you can't put your building in a briefcase and take it to the Cayman Islands, which I thought was a great image. So first of all, it's just fundamentally dishonest. These assets can't just move easily. But the second point, I think, is the more important one. If you're saying what kind of society do we want to live in, if we have multimillionaires and billionaires, and obviously billionaires shouldn't exist in our society, no one should be able to be that wealthy. That's a failure of a taxation system. But if we do have billionaires and we're saying we want to tax 1% on assets of £10 million or more, and they say, no, I don't want to give 1% to fund our schools, our health service, our public services, then frankly, we should be happy to wave them out the door. Because patriotism involves paying your taxes, paying to make sure that our public services are running properly, being proud of this country and knowing that real patriotism is being in your community, saving the local library, protecting a green space, being really clear about what it means to be British. Patriotism involves loving both your neighbour and the stranger, just on basic humanity. Patriotism involves calling on government to have a fair taxation system. Patriotism is not, by the way, in very topical news, being subservient to Donald Trump. A unhinged... I've only got a small amount of time, so don't let me go off on one about all the time. This could turn into a 2-hour seminar. But quite seriously, an unhinged, unpredictable president, that Keir Starmer has laid all his eggs in one basket. When he gave him a second state visit, I want to be clear, a UK Prime Minister does need to have a diplomatic relationship with a president, including one whose politics I despise as much as Donald Trump. Having a diplomatic relationship, though, is a very different question to rolling out the red carpet and giving a second state visit. And at the time, centrist media and right-wing media said, Keir Starmer's pulling a blinder, he's stroking his ego. We know Donald Trump is a bully. And anyone who's dealt with a bully knows you do not give them what they want. They will just demand more. And in this country, every time Nigel Farage shouts, jump, Keir Starmer says, how high? And we know that if you appease the right, be it Nigel Farage, be it Tommy Robinson, be it Donald Trump, they will always ask for more, and they will always demand more. And so the way you really take on bullies like Donald Trump is to find your real allies, to build for peace and diplomacy, to say the future of Greenland is for the Greenlanders, and to say the fact that there is still a genocide in Gaza, it has not ended, and we must end the genocide. Now, I want to get on to local politics in a moment, because we have 109 days, not that I'm counting every single day, until May the 7th, this important set of local elections. I do just want to say one more thing about national, international affairs, because it all links in, and it's about the country that we are. We know that there have been some very, very brave people who have been speaking out against the genocide time and time again. These people were with Palestine Action, and they were arrested for holding cardboard signs saying, I support Palestine Action, I oppose the genocide. And they've been on hunger strike for weeks and weeks and weeks, and have now ended that hunger strike for their own safety. There is still one, though, Umar Khalid, who is still on hunger strike, and we absolutely show our solidarity to those people who are calling out the atrocities that are happening. What is also revealing, though, is that this government knows that any time someone has been arrested, whether it's on hunger strike or whether it's with Extinction Rebellion or Just Stop Oil, on the climate crisis, one of the biggest crises facing us, or the nature crisis, we live in one of the most nature-depleted countries in the world. Every time there's a jury, and the jury tries someone who might have chained themselves to a railing, it's not that they love the action. They often say it's inconvenient or it's not considered, but they almost always give them a not guilty verdict or let them off, because they recognise when things are as bad as they are, we need people to sound the alarm. So what have the government done? They have taken the people who are on hunger strike, who are meant to only be on remand on detention without trial for 6 to 8 months legally, but they've kept them until January 2027, at the very least. That's 20 months without a trial. On top of that, in the most cynical move possible, they are talking about abolishing jury trials. It doesn't take rocket science to work out what this government is up to. They are trying to change the goalposts, and justice delayed is justice denied. And so we say to this government, we will not allow you to get away with this. We see over and over again from public polling that this is not the kind of society that people want. And protest is a fundamental part of our democracy, and we will defend our juries. So, local elections, 109 days. These elections are really important, not just because of all the national and international issues I've talked about. Of course, those are really, really important. But other parties will often say that local elections are about the story you're telling or about the message you're sending to Westminster government. And that's not the message I want to deliver today. Local elections are important because local politics is important. Most people's first experience of politics, sadly, is Prime Minister's question time, where you have two people screaming at each other, no one really answers a question, and no one is any more informed than the beginning of the exchange. They're just a little bit more angry. I know we've all shouted at the TV and radio. I mean, I still do it. I have a microphone, I still shout at the TV. People's second experience of politics, though, is often a local politician, a local councillor, or a local candidate. Someone who is there genuinely to represent the community. Someone who will listen and work to get things done in the chamber. Now, we must never offer false promises. The fact that this country has had 14 years of Conservative austerity and a Labour government who have continued that austerity, including slashing money for local councils. Some councils are having to spend up to 80% of their budget on adult social care. They are really, really struggling. It is not acceptable, though, to have Labour councillors who shrug their shoulders and say, yes, we should have some more money, but it's the Labour government who are doing this to us, and we're not going to speak up about that. So the first thing you're going to get with a Green councillor is someone who will speak out against austerity, someone who will manage the finances as best they can, but will never lose the sight of the fact we should never have been in this position in the first place. Bradford Council is one of the councils that's in the most debt in the entire country. So I'm not going to stand here and pretend in any way, even if we will, if we do and we will, win lots and lots of councillors, that things can change overnight. But what you will have is people in the council who are there not to serve the Green Party, as much as I want them to do that, but actually more importantly, are there to serve Bradford, to serve the local community, because that's what's important here. Now, I'm one of the few politicians in frontline politics who can stand here and hold this microphone and say to you, I genuinely have never accepted a penny from oil and gas, from the arms trade company, from private healthcare, or from gambling companies. Thank you, I really appreciate the applause. And the next thing I say is going to sound ungrateful, but I'm not ungrateful. But how ludicrous is it that you're applauding that? And I would applaud it too. That's how low the bar has got. That when someone says to you, I'm not corrupt, I'm not in the pockets of vested interests, we're like, thank you, there's a politician who's going to represent the people and not profit. And that's what you're getting with your local candidates. You're getting people who aren't getting into politics because they want to be something, but because they want to do something. It's not about, after being in the council, then looking what cushy job can they go next to, and the revolving door that happens far too often in councils. It's about saying this is a really bloody difficult job, and we want to get stuck in to help you. So the way that we can never take money, from dirty money, from multimillionaires or billionaires, is exactly what Martin was saying. It's about regular donations from members or non-members indeed. Now look, there's a cost of living crisis. I know for lots of people, it just feels like we're running all the time, just to keep up. Water bills are coming in, people dread opening the next energy bill, rent is through the roof. And if this applies to you, ignore the next few sentences. If this doesn't apply to you though, please do consider giving some money to the Green Party. Every pound, £10, £100 that you can give will really, really go a long way to making sure we're really fighting these next elections and being able to keep up with the amount that the other parties spend. If you can't give money, and even if you can, there's two other really important things you can do. Leafleting. Now, people often say to me, is politics not really bleak and grim? And the thing is, the world can be quite grim, but actually most of the time I feel really upbeat and positive. And that's because I'm spending my time doing something about it. And that includes, I still have my own leaflet round, by the way, in Hackney, where I live. They won't let me off it. Not that I try, I'll start a news headline. But every leaflet that I drop through a door, being careful of barking dogs, I love dogs, by the way, but you've got to be careful of the barkers. I think that's one less vote for reform. That's one less vote for the old establishment parties. So each step you take, knowing that no matter what's going on in the world or in your local community, you're taking action and you're doing something about it. And then there's door knocking. Door knocking can be a little bit scary, but honestly, the only thing you need to be scared of is the state of undress that people sometimes open the door and you're like, what are you doing? Put some clothes on. You don't actually say that. You just go, do you want to take a moment to put some clothes on? What people don't necessarily know if they've not door knocked before, and by the way, I know some of you in this room couldn't do any more door knocking if you tried, so thank you very much for everything you've been doing. But for those of you who haven't done before, if the barrier is that you're worried that you're not an expert on policy or you're worried what someone might say, you're literally asking people their opinion, their point of view. And if there's one thing people love to give, it's their opinion. In fact, you'll find that the people who say to you, well, I don't have time to speak right now, or I've got 30 seconds, you'll often find 10 minutes later, you're trying to get away because they won't stop speaking. So please, I do encourage you between now and May the 7th to chat to someone in the room right now, not that between now and May 7th, do that this evening, but between May and 7th, to get out there and get door knocking, because it really is the way that we can change things. Because to end up, or to finish up for now before I take questions, I'm not shy on social media. You might have noticed that if any of you are on social media. And it is an important part of inspiring people and getting people excited. But elections are not won by someone who goes on media or TV or radio. Elections are not won at the national level. They're won by people in Bradford, speaking to their neighbours, speaking to their friends. I was about to say speaking to their strangers. I'm from London, so we don't speak to strangers. But I know you do in Bradford. I'm from Manchester as well, so I'm there speaking to strangers. But seriously, do talk to everyone you can. Because the other parties have money, but we have people power. And when you applauded me when I came on the stage, that was lovely. But really you're applauding yourselves. We're recognising our collective agency. What we can do when we can decide things don't have to be this way, they can and they will be different. That's how we're going to change Bradford, that's how you're going to change Yorkshire, and that's how we can get our country back. Thank you very much. While recording, I've never met Adam, but he messaged me on Instagram, I can see him here. And this isn't just a round of applause for Adam, for every single volunteer who's in the room today, keeping everything running and organising. Thank you very much for putting on the event.
So we
feel like I'm on mastermind on this podium.
On a next week, we want to try and get through as many of the questions as we can, and there are over 70 submitted, so just to manage how people are thinking we're not going to get through 70 questions. I've tried to pick up a few that have been, there's been a few recurring themes. So we'll start with this one. So what can the Green Party offer to Bradford where people don't believe politics can change anything? So how can we show the links between health, pollution, high bills, decent work, all of the things that Greens talk about, and why people, and how green policies can protect and improve people's lives in Bradford?
Yeah, thank you. So the first thing is, it was mentioned before that since I was elected leader of the Green Party, we've over tripled our membership. Our poll ratings now are tripled. We're not complacent about any of this because we've got to go out there and win elections, because that's how we change things. We'll be campaigning for every vote. But since we're tripling membership and tripling polling ratings, we already have 10 brilliant councillors. How about we get 27 or even 30 councillors? I'm aware, by the way, I haven't answered the question yet. I did that thing where I hadn't mentioned 27 councils, I needed to wedge it inside. That was the unsubtle wedging. How do we connect these things? Well, we know there's no environmental justice without social, racial, and economic justice too. And if we think about the quality of people's homes, for instance, we need to make sure that when we're building homes, they are not luxury, unaffordable buildings that no one will live in, that are sold off to foreign investors. And you can get into those kind of conversations on things like the planning committee, to make sure that the buildings we're building are council homes, that they're affordable, that they're accessible, and also something called passive house standard. And all that means is they're insulated properly, so in a few years' time, you don't need to retrofit them, which is absolutely ridiculous. And the reason why this matters is it's a triple win. One, you reduce bills, vital in the cost of living crisis, for all of the obvious reasons. One, you reduce carbon emissions, vital in the climate crisis. And also it creates green jobs. They can be in the public sector, in trade unions, where people are treated with dignity and care at work and given a proper wage. So one of the things that people can do on the council is both demonstrate the work that the 10 brilliant councillors have already been doing, but also make sure that people understand the difference it will make to have 27 councillors being able to hold whoever the administration is to account, and making sure that in every decision, people are considered first rather than profit.
So sort of following on from that, but we've got looked about trade unions. So how do you plan to work with trade unions in the run to this next election, in particular, to get unions considering supporting the Green Party?
Yeah, it's really vital. One of the moments that I realised something had really changed for the Green Party, and for me personally, to be honest, is a few days after I was elected, I went to TUC Congress. That's the Trade Union Congress, which is an umbrella of lots of trade union organisations. And a member of staff from the Green Party said, "Do you think you'll need staff with you?" And I said, "Oh no, it's fine, I'm just literally going for an hour to chat to people." I walked through the door and just got mobbed, both by people who work in trade unions, by the workers themselves, by broadcast media who wanted to chat about the Green Party and trade unions. And I'd gone with one real message really, which is that people are not leaving the Labour Party. The Labour Party has left them. And if you want to know who the home of the workers are, it's very clearly the Green Party. And the reason why I say that is because we're the party that are advocating for a higher minimum wage. We want to make sure, I don't know if I've mentioned, that we want to tax multimillionaires and billionaires and have a fair taxation system. And with the party as well that is talking about the politics of care. I met some unpaid care leavers just last week. There's 5 to 18-year-olds, young people, who are looking after their parents, sometimes 5-year-olds, who are getting up several times in the night to look after their older parents. And the reason why I say that is because every way we talk about the economy rarely looks at the real economy. The people who are working behind the scenes in care work, the people who are doing our work, the real wealth creators, the teachers, the cleaners, the nurses, making sure that they are represented and their voices are in our political decisions are incredibly important. But instead we have, I was going to rant about Keir Starmer again. You know what Keir Starmer's doing, so I'll take the next question.
So as many of us know, Bradford was City of Culture last year. There's been a few questions on culture and arts. So just kind of bring them together. What would the Green Party do in relation to supporting the arts and the culture and giving people different outlets?
Thank you. One of the worst insults that the right-wing media ever said was to compare me and Zoran Mamdani and say we're theatre kids. I loved it. Art and culture is incredibly important, and of course that is really personal to me. Theatre kid, by the way, if you don't get the reference, just because I went to drama school before I was in politics, I used to work in community theatre. And I've seen the difference that theatre can make. I don't want to undermine myself with a microphone right now, but there is nothing more powerful than a story that is acted out, or a piece of music, or even, to be honest, food from a culture where people come together. Margaret Thatcher said there's no such thing as society. And then what she proceeded to do, and the Tories, was to shut down our community spaces, to shut down our libraries, our art spaces, places that people can gather together. And now we have politicians say, oh, there's no integration in our communities. How do you expect people to integrate if you take away the space where they can eat together, talk together, pray together, create art together, and even disagree together? Because if we can't disagree in public in polite ways, what happens is it all goes onto social media, where we have incredibly problematic, addictive algorithms run by the oligarchy and tech billionaires that, again, Keir Starmer is subservient to, another group that he really loves. And it just means it's eroding our public discourse. One of the best ways we can have conversations or talk about things like difficult subjects or sensitive is through art, where you can look at different angles, where we can empathize, where we can imagine what is the other, even the person we disagree with, the Reform voter. Look, if you're a Reform MP, I've got no time for you. Nigel Farage he says he's a man of the people, but he's a man of the wealthy people. He's a charlatan that claims to represent the 99%, but really represents the 1%. Now, the reason why I say that is that's very different from someone who might think about voting for Reform. They're the exact people we want to care about. They feel like politics has ignored them, and they don't just feel it, they're right. The two-party system has completely failed them. They were promised lots of things, and nothing was delivered. So rather than telling them they're wrong or lecturing them, we need to find ways, and I think art is one of those ways, is to reach out to people to connect and tell different stories that other people can see that they're the protagonists in. Our communities should be for everyone, including people we disagree with. I resisted the urge to do some jazz hands.
So there's again a few questions. So this is kind of trying to amalgamate, if you want, a similar theme. But how do you plan on supporting and protecting the LGBT plus community, particularly young people? And the current situation is quite scary for a lot of people.
The situation is really scary, and we've seen hate crime for LGBT people on the rise in many cities and villages across the country. And this isn't by accident. This has been very deliberate targeting of looking to try and distract us all by talking about minority communities. And one thing I think that we've seen in New York, which demonstrates this can absolutely work, is the incredible work of Zoran Mamdani. I imagine most people know who I'm talking about, but this is the new mayor of New York. And what he's done so beautifully, I believe, is he's focused inequality in everything that he's done. He's talked about a city that everyone can afford to live in. Now that does not mean, as I think the left sometimes thought, that we don't show our solidarity to LGBT people, or to the Muslim community, or the Jewish community, or to disabled people. What he does every single time is demonstrate unconditional solidarity and get straight back to inequality. So in terms of the LGBT community, as a gay man, I grew up under Section 28. I remember what it's like to feel like you're not allowed to be talked about, or to feel like in some way you have to live in shame. And even as a man now, decades later, I'm pretty proud. I'm very proud that when I first won the leadership, I gave a speech and my boyfriend joined me on stage. We believe that's the first time in British political history that a same-sex couple have joined each other on stage after a conference speech. That wasn't just a big deal for me personally, but lots of young people told me what it meant to them to see that in their future, and lots of older people told me that they never thought they'd see that moment on stage. We know, though, that they're not coming for gay people as much at the moment, but they are coming for trans people. And it's like the canary in the coal mine. It never stops with refugees, it never stops with the Muslim community, it never stops with trans people. We know that when a community is under attack, the only authentic response is solidarity, and trans rights are human rights.
So again, this is bringing together a few questions on the similar themes, and it's probably an evolution from that question. How do you plan on broadening the Green Church in terms of bringing people from underrepresented groups? So one example would be disabled people, and the other would be people from working class backgrounds.
Yeah, the use of the word church, I've deliberately stood in front of the podium because I don't like lectures. But I get what you mean entirely. So how do we broaden out our appeal to all sorts of groups? I think the first thing I want to start, without being naive, is that human beings are human beings. And actually, I travel the country a lot, I door knock a lot, and very often people, well-meaning people, volunteers, want to give me advice about how to speak to their community, or what particular thing is going to go down well here. And I listen politely because I do like advice, and then I just go connect with people and how I normally would. And you find very quickly that people are people. And sure, there are certain contexts where there's particular issues that are particularly important to a different community. But actually, people want the same things. They want to be able to pay their bills. They want to be able to have a roof above their head. They want to be treated with dignity and respect. They want to be treated like adults that are respected and listened to. I realized in the last question as well, was a particular point about young people. Young people are incredibly important for our politics because this is about our future generations. And I'm sick and tired of hearing politicians say, oh, I'm so inspired by young people. Oh, I'm just really listening to young people. I'm like, actually, empower young people. Help young people, give them the confidence and the training, and actually help them to get into positions of power so they can make decisions for themselves. And I think it's the same about communities. I think listening to communities is part of it, but actually we don't want to speak for people, we want to speak with us, with people. There should never be a them and us. And I mean this with working class communities, I mean with Jewish communities, Muslim communities, non-faith communities, whoever it might be. For the Green Party to be truly representative, we need to keep growing the support, and I believe that already is happening. In fact, we have a programme right now called Pathway to Parliament, which people have applied to be the future generation of MPs. I believe the figures were 34% of the applicants were from global majority backgrounds, a huge amount of the applicants were from working class backgrounds. I'm not being complacent about this, but I can see that this is already moving in the right direction. The very final thing I'd say on this is for us all to take responsibility for it. So if you're at a local party meeting, what are you doing to make the meeting as inclusive as possible, to make people feel accessible and welcome? If it's someone's first meeting, are we avoiding using acronyms or codes that might make people feel distant? Politics has always been designed to be exclusionary, to be complicated or confusing, because it doesn't want mass appeal, because that's how you overthrow the status quo or change the status quo. So it's our job to make sure that it is accessible. At all times we're doing everything we can to make our language accessible, to make people feel included, not in a patronising or pandering way, but making sure we're passing the mic to others. I'm aware that I just spoke about you for half an hour, which is okay, but normally I would pass the mic if it was a local party meeting. Thank you.
So we're going to jump to international issues. So what's your response to, and I like this alliteration, Trump's tariff tantrums?
That's very good. Yeah, sun will be all over that. Not really want the sun to anyway. The tariff tantrums, I think, demonstrate exactly what we've known about Donald Trump for a long time, and I won't repeat everything I've already said. But what I will say is we need to get really serious about our national security. And when I say national security, I mean that broadly in the way that we should mean it broadly. Just a year ago, the government's intelligence chiefs released a report about national security threats to this country. And it was very clear about two that weren't being addressed properly. One was cybersecurity, and the second, in fact, it said was the biggest security risk facing this country was the climate crisis. And that's because the climate crisis is not some distant threat. It's right here and it's right now. Both in the global south, countries who have done the least to cause the climate crisis, who are facing the worst impacts and are the least resilient, and we absolutely need to make sure that we have international equality around reparations and making sure we top up loss and damage funds, as well as mitigating what I mean by reducing our own emissions. But also right here in the UK, we've already seen wildfires and floods. In fact, in Yorkshire, you know well the damaging and devastating impacts from floods. And the sad news, and I'm always careful when I say this because I don't want to paralyse people with fear, that even if we got a Green government tomorrow, enough damage has already been baked into our system that we will see even worse effects of the climate crisis. But the reason why we shouldn't be paralysed with fear is every bit of a degree that we can stop global warming really matters. It matters for billions of people across the planet. So we need to do two things. One, reduce our own emissions, so look at how can we make sure that the greenest option is always the cheapest and most accessible. This isn't about just individual responsibility, although that's good if you have the power and privilege to do it, but it's about system change and challenging businesses and governments. Second, I realise I've tangented all over the place, but national security is a big issue. We need to look at NATO. There's something called Article 5, which means that attack on one is an attack on all. And Donald Trump has demonstrated he's not a reliable ally. We need to have a conversation about stopping US military bases operating on UK soil. Places like Lincoln. Places like Lincoln East, where nuclear weapons are rumoured to be stored, where ultimately our whole security system is subservient and reliant on this totally unpredictable ally. More widely, though, in the long term, we need to have a genuine security review that takes cybersecurity and the climate crisis properly and looks at other countries that we should be allying with, places like Brazil and Mexico, and most obviously our European neighbours. It's almost like someone should create a union where we could all work together and make sure we have mutual security.
Unfortunately, due to time, we only have time for one more. So this is a question which I'm trying to amalgamate three. I'm going to try and do it on the fly. How do we, so it's again, come back to that question of broad and appeal. Bradford's got a very diverse city with a lot of people from different backgrounds. How do we talk about issues? Because I think a lot of people see this as being environmental, but talking about the issues that matter to communities like education issues and other international issues. Our stance on Gaza is quite clear, but other international issues, for example, Kashmir.
Yeah, so I want to say three things. One is not related, but I'm not avoiding the question. Thank you very much to Matt for all the work that he did. It was when he said I'm amalgamating three questions on the fly, and I thought, he's very, very good. Second, though, I think the way we appeal to people, as I've already said, is to connect with people. But yes, there are issues. I'm really proud that we're the party in 2021 that called for a referendum in Kashmir on independence, because ultimately a country's right for self-determination should always be for the people, whether that's in Ukraine, whether it's in Palestine, whether it's in Greenland. Ultimately, we always know that the people who live in the country are the people who should make decisions, not warmongers, not profiteers, not billionaires who are looking to seek for a profit. I think more widely, though, the way we grow our appeal is not being a top-down party. I suppose this is a good message to leave the room on in many ways. I'm always really happy to come to meetings like this. In fact, I've had an amazing time in Yorkshire the last couple of days, in Wakefield, in Barnsley, in Huddersfield, in Sheffield, in Halifax, and now in Bradford. That's really dangerous to name places because you think I'm going to forget something I did. And I've loved all the people I've met, but I pretty much said the same thing at the end at every meeting, and it's this. No one's coming to save us, and I include myself in that. I'm not coming to save myself. We can all collectively save each other. And it really requires us all to step up to this moment. What can we do that's more? Whether it's leafleting, whether it's door knocking, whether it's donating, whether it's talking to people who would never dream of being at a meeting like this. It's amazing it's so busy and there's a real vibe in the room. But who are the people who this wouldn't yet appeal to? What could we be changing? What could we be doing to attract more people, to let everyone know that if you don't do politics, politics will do you. And if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So, on that positive note, quite seriously, I've never felt more hopeful about what we can do, despite how bleak it is. And part of this answer will be on Thursday night in our Green Party political broadcast. I won't give any spoilers, but it's a good one. I think people are really going to resonate with it. And ultimately, we really need to get back to inequality. Yes, we should talk about all of the issues. Yes, we absolutely will and must show solidarity. But as Oran said, they want a city that everyone can afford to live in. Friends, we need a country that everyone can afford to live in. We can do this. We can do this together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. So for anyone that knows me, I like to get the last word. And I think my partner can vouch for that. So I've got a couple of thank yous. So firstly, I want to thank you to a wonderful team of volunteers. Can the people who have been volunteering just wave? Thank you. There's too many people for me to name check. I'm really sorry, I could write everyone's name out, I'll be here all day. I do want to say a special thank you to Darren. Darren is not in the room today, but for anyone that follows us on social media, Darren does our social media single-handedly.
Yes.
I want to say a big thank you to our wonderful candidates. We hope, well, very imminently we will have 27 candidates selected. That's really exciting. So, round of applause to our candidates. Councillor Watson, who was standing for us in Shipley, has taken a bullet for me today because I was meant to go to Queensbury Tunnel. There was a question on the Queensbury Tunnel and they've got a big event going on at the exact same time. So Councillor Anna Watson's taken a bullet, she sacrificed herself and she's gone there to speak and represent the Green Party, so a special thank you to Anna. I want to thank Claire, our wonderful campaign organiser who appears to have run off. Oh, she's here. Claire started just in mid-December and already has been transformational for our campaigns.
You stole her from Leeds.
We saved her from Leeds. I believe there are people from Leeds in the room. The venue, Valley Parade have been really great with us, and when I booked it, I said 200 people will be fine. And then you all booked to come, and then I said, well, can we try 300? And then more of you booked to come. And they've just kept, when I kept upping the number, they've just gone yes. So James and Nikki from Valley Parade have really helped us. Moffin, like, I didn't give Moffin a great enough interview. Moffin is just such a phenomenal person. When he was thinking about standing, I thought, do you want to? Like, it's a lot of work. And I was just thinking, because he's such a hard-working guy anyway, like, he's just such a phenomenal counsellor. I want to say a big thank you to Moffin because he's just an energy water. And then one final round of applause for the man of the day, Zack. party for quite a while, not as long as some of the people in the room. Like, just the last 6 months have been exciting and exhausting, usually at the same time, and that's an odd combination. And finally, I'm not known for subtlety. Finally, I know people are running off before I say this, but if you can, please donate to us. We have so much ambition, and what's going to hold us back is money. There is a donation store, Ashwave, and we will have people with buckets. You can donate online. Please, this is the thing that's going to hold us back, and this could be the difference between like us being the official opposition and actually winning and being in control of Bradford Council is money. So please do donate. And if you're not able to, or just get involved. If every single person in this room was able to spend an hour or two every couple of weeks, we would smash it. We wouldn't be looking at 30, we'd be looking at more. So if you can, where's the get involved store? Yeah, go find out about getting involved. We've got campaign teams right across the district, from the most southerly parts where I'm a councillor, Homewood, Byley, right to the most northerly parts in Ilkley and Minton and Burley. And we've got massive opportunities to get involved, and I say excitingly fitting opportunities. And finally, if you're not a member, what's holding you back? Like, what more do you need? Like Zack and Martin have articulated it. We can transform this city. It's going to be hard work, but we're going to need you. So please join.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We're going to take a photo. So we're going to ask Zack, possibly we're going to angle it. So we're going to get Zack stand here. If you could, people want to be in the photo, come around to this angle. Or not. We're going to take a photo that way. So be ready to look excited. Not asleep, please. And yeah, can we get some maybe very green boards handed out as well? Anyone nothing wants to know if anyone's filled in the membership form while they've been here? No? Well, still time.
Fine.
Yeah, I think that's how we can't just take a static photo, we need people like energy.
Yes!
Can you tell the crowd?
Guys, make some noise!
Thank you all for coming. And we're going to, unfortunately, train times, I have now got to get Zack to interchange and by speaking to some journalists. So thank you all once again for coming.
No, it's 15, 20 minutes.